Have you ever walked away from a conversation and thought to yourself, why did I say that? Not because it was rude, not because it was wrong, but because deep down it revealed more weakness than wisdom. We live in a world where words fly faster than thoughts, but a man of intelligence, true grounded intelligence, learns to master the pause before the tongue. And that's where Stoicism enters the picture, not just as ancient philosophy, but as a silent code, a compass, a way of speaking less but saying more. In today's video, we're uncovering 7 things an intelligent man never says, and why keeping these out of your vocabulary could be the most powerful upgrade to your life, mindset, and relationships. Stay until the end because the last sentence, the words that should never ever be uttered by an intelligent man, is the one no one ever considers. This isn't just self-help fluff. It's psychological warfare. It's reputation management. It's emotional discipline. Let's dive in. Number 1. I already know that. There's a subtle arrogance buried in the phrase, I already know that. It sounds harmless on the surface, maybe even confident. But beneath it lies a dangerous assumption that there's nothing more to learn. An intelligent man never says this. Not because he lacks knowledge, but because he understands the difference between familiarity and mastery. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus captured it best when he said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." That quote should echo in your mind every time you're tempted to brush something off with a wave of ego. Let's paint a picture. You're sitting in a conversation, maybe with a mentor, a friend, or even someone younger than you. They begin explaining a concept you recognize instantly. You've read it. You've heard it before. You feel the itch to cut in, to say, yeah, I already know this. But the intelligent man, he leans in instead. Why? Because he understands that repetition isn't redundancy, it's refinement. Just because you've heard something doesn't mean you've embodied it. Just because you've read the quote doesn't mean it's integrated into your life. There's a world of difference between intellectual understanding and actual application. Think of wisdom like a deep well. You don't empty it with one bucket. Every time you return, you draw water again, and sometimes deeper than before. The man who interrupts with, I already know that, shuts the door to further depth. But the man who listens, really listens, keeps that door wide open. And often, it's the second or third encounter with an idea where it finally pierces your armor and reshapes you. Here's the irony. The people who say, I already know that, are often the ones who need to hear it most. Because if they truly knew it, not just in theory, but in behavior, it would show in how they carried themselves. Humility would be their posture, not pride. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome and a student of Stoicism, journaled daily about truths he had known for years. Why? Because repetition was his training, his armor. He didn't dismiss the basics, he returned to them religiously. And that's how he ruled with clarity amidst chaos. Let me ask you, how many truths have you brushed aside because you believed you already knew them? Think about it. How often do we repeat unhealthy patterns simply because we think we've outgrown the lesson? The intelligent man lives with what the Japanese call shoshin, a beginner's mind. He doesn't pretend to have it all figured out. He stays open, curious, willing to relearn what he thought he knew. There's also a deeper social intelligence here. When you say, I already know that, you risk belittling the person speaking to you. You signal that their words are unnecessary, their effort wasted. That's not wisdom, that's ego in disguise. But when you listen, even if you've heard it before, you're doing 2 things at once. First, you're giving the speaker the respect of your attention. Second, you're giving yourself the chance to extract something new from the familiar. Because the truth is, the context changes. You've changed. The version of you hearing the lesson today is not the same version who heard it last year. And sometimes all it takes is one sentence, rephrased, relived, or just timed right, to shift your entire mindset. So the next time someone shares an idea you think you already know, pause. Breathe. Listen. Because intelligent men don't flex their knowledge, they expand it. And they understand that silence, not interruption, is the mark of true mastery. Number 2. That's just how I am. There are few phrases more damaging to growth than the casual shrug of, that's just how I am. At first glance, it sounds like self-acceptance, like someone being real about their nature. But beneath the surface, it often hides something more sinister, resistance to change, disguised as authenticity. An intelligent man knows better. Because when someone says, "That's just how I am," what they're often saying is, "I've chosen comfort over evolution." And that's not Stoic. That's stagnant. The Stoics believed deeply in the power of intentional transformation. They taught that while you can't control everything in the world around you, you always have power over your response, over your mind, over your choices. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, faced wars, plagues, betrayal, and loss. And yet, in his private journal, he reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wasn't a motivational quote for him. It was a daily practice. A constant reminder that who you are is not set in stone. You are not your temper. You are not your laziness. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your trauma, your fear, or your impulses. You are the sculptor, not the sculpture. Now imagine a man with a short fuse. He lashes out when things go wrong, then says, "That's just how I am." In that moment, he chooses permanence. He gives up the opportunity to evolve. An intelligent man in the same position might feel the same frustration, but he tells himself, "This is who I've been, but not who I have to remain." That mindset changes everything. Because intelligent men don't worship their flaws. They train against them. If they're impatient, they practice patience, even when it's uncomfortable. If they're disorganized, they start structuring their days, 1 hour at a time. If they're reactive, they study calmness like it's an art form. Stoicism isn't about staying who you are. It's about becoming who you could be. Think of it this way. You wouldn't accept, "That's just how I am," from a pilot who refuses to learn to fly better, or a surgeon who keeps making mistakes. So why should you accept it from yourself, when your life, and the lives you touch, are no less valuable? We live in a world where people are praised for being real and unapologetically themselves. And there's beauty in authenticity, yes. But there's danger in using it as an excuse to never improve. Authenticity is not refusing to change. Authenticity is owning where you are and still choosing to grow. It's the difference between saying, "I'm just not good at relationships," and saying, "I've struggled in the past, but I'm committed to learning how to love better." The first is a wall. The second is a window. So the next time you hear yourself say, "That's just how I am," stop. Ask yourself, is that who I want to be? Or is that just who I've been? The truth is, intelligent men don't defend their weaknesses, they dismantle them. They don't get stuck in their identity, they reinvent it. And they understand that becoming better is not betrayal of the self, it's fulfillment of it. Never forget, the man you are today is just the foundation. Who you become tomorrow, that's where your power lives. And if the Stoics taught us anything, it's that change isn't just possible. It's your duty. Number 3. It's not my fault. Now listen closely, because this one stings. One of the most seductive phrases in the modern world is, "It's not my fault." And maybe it isn't. Maybe you really were mistreated, overlooked, undervalued. Maybe the cards were stacked against you. The economy collapsed. Your parents failed you. Your partner betrayed you. Your boss ignored your potential. But the moment those 5 words leave your lips, "It's not my fault," you hand over your power. And an intelligent man never gives away his power. Stoicism doesn't care who's to blame. It doesn't sit around assigning guilt or dissecting who started what. It doesn't ask why the fire started. It asks what you're going to do with the flames. The Stoic approach is ruthless in its simplicity. Something went wrong. What's your next move? Epictetus was born a slave. He could have spent his life saying, "This isn't fair. It's not my fault," and he would have been right. But instead, he devoted his life to mastering his mind, because he understood something profound. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. The man who blames stays stuck. The man who takes ownership, he becomes unstoppable. Let's bring it into the real world. Imagine 2 men get fired from their jobs. One of them says, "It's not my fault. My manager had it out for me." He sulks, complains, spends the next year waiting for life to get better. The other man says, "Maybe it was unfair. Maybe it wasn't my fault, but what could I have done differently? What can I learn? How can I make sure I'm never this vulnerable again?" He updates his resume. He studies new skills. He starts networking. And within months, he's in a better position than before. The first man blamed. The second man built. That's the difference. Marcus Aurelius, as Emperor of Rome, faced betrayals from his closest friends, plagues that decimated his people, wars that threatened his empire. He didn't have time to play the victim. He wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. If not, then stop complaining. Your misfortune is not misbehavior." You see, intelligent men don't ask, "Whose fault is it?" They ask, "Where is my responsibility in this?" And responsibility is different from guilt. You can be responsible even if you're not to blame. You didn't cause the storm, but you can still steer the ship. You didn't build the system, but you can still rise above it. You didn't start the fire, but you can stop it from spreading. This shift from blame to ownership is one of the most powerful mental upgrades a man can make. It means no more waiting for apologies, no more needing closure, no more replaying what should have been, because now the focus is on what you're going to do next. And that mindset builds kings, leaders, builders, creators. Look around. The world is full of men who stopped at blame, men who never took the wheel. Don't be one of them. Be the man who says, "Maybe it wasn't my fault, but it is my responsibility." Because that's where your growth begins. That's where your future takes shape. Remember, a man who blames his circumstances becomes a slave to them. But the man who takes ownership, even unfairly, becomes free. Point number 4. That's impossible. The fourth phrase an intelligent man never utters is, "That's impossible." At first glance, it might seem harmless. Just an observation, a moment of frustration. But those two words are more dangerous than most realize, because they don't just describe a situation, they shape reality. What intelligent men understand is this: impossible is often just difficult plus fear. Think about it. How many things that once seemed impossible are now routine? Human flight, instant communication across the globe, even the ability to film and share videos with millions of people from a pocket-sized device. All of it, once labeled impossible. And here's what's even more fascinating. In the time of the Stoics, the greatest impossibility wasn't conquering empires or building cities. It was something internal, something quiet, mastery over the self, to control one's emotions, to remain calm in the face of rage, still in the face of chaos. That seemed impossible, but the Stoics made it their mission. They didn't just talk about controlling emotion, they trained for it, daily, relentlessly, intentionally, and they proved over time that what once seemed impossible was, in fact, a skill, waiting to be forged through fire and discipline. Seneca, one of the most prominent Stoic thinkers, wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." He didn't believe in limits, only in resistance. And resistance to a Stoic is not a wall. It's a workout. When you say, "That's impossible," what you're really saying is, "I'm not willing to try." You're not making a statement about the task. You're making a statement about yourself. And here's the truly dangerous part. Your brain believes you. Say "that's impossible" enough times, and your mind stops looking for solutions. It closes the door. It throws away the key. It forgets there was ever a door in the first place. Language isn't neutral. It's powerful. It programs your perception. The intelligent man knows this. So instead of saying, "That's impossible," he asks, "How can I figure this out?" He replaces defeat with strategy. He doesn't settle for dead ends. He sketches new maps. When others see walls, he's busy looking for hidden doors, pressure points, secret tunnels. This isn't optimism. This is mental discipline. It's the belief that no situation is truly fixed. Only problems you haven't solved yet. Only mountains you haven't climbed yet. Only lessons you haven't learned yet. Now let's get brutally honest for a second. Sometimes, right now, it might actually be impossible for you. Maybe you don't have the skills, or the resources, or the experience. But intelligent men don't use that as a reason to quit. They use it as a compass. If I can't do it now, then what must I learn? Who must I become? Because growth lives right on the edge of what feels impossible. And here's the kicker. Every great accomplishment was once someone's impossible. The difference is someone chose to believe in not yet instead of never. So the next time you're facing something overwhelming, something that feels like it's beyond your reach, pause. Don't say, "That's impossible." Say, "This is the part of the story where I figure it out." Because the intelligent man knows. The impossible is just the possible, waiting on your courage. Number 5. I don't care. The fifth thing an intelligent man never says is, I don't care. Now at first glance, that might sound stoic, cool, composed, unbothered. But don't be fooled. There's a vast difference between stoic detachment and emotional apathy. One is strength. The other is a mask. When a man says, I don't care, what he's often doing is hiding. Hiding from effort. Hiding from emotion. Hiding from responsibility. It's easier to say you don't care than to admit you do and risk looking weak. It's easier to pretend you're above it all than to face the pain of rejection, failure, or disappointment. But let's be clear, Stoicism is not about apathy. It's not about drifting through life like nothing matters. It's about being anchored so that only what truly matters affects you. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, said, Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And a good man cares. He cares about justice. He cares about the people around him. He cares about how he shows up in the world, even when no one is watching. That's not weakness, that's intention. The phrase, I don't care, is often used to dodge discomfort. Didn't get the job? I don't care. She ghosted you? Whatever. I didn't care anyway. Life's not going how you planned? Who cares? But beneath those 3 words is often fear. Fear of looking vulnerable. Fear of being hurt. Fear of being seen. Intelligent men don't run from that. They sit with it. They examine it. And then they respond, not with indifference, but with clarity. Instead of I don't care, they say, that doesn't align with my values. Or, that's not where I choose to put my energy. See the difference? One is lazy detachment. The other is disciplined focus. One shuts down the conversation. The other raises the standard. Stoicism teaches you to care on purpose. Not to let your emotions drag you like a leaf in the wind, but also not to harden yourself so much that you become emotionally numb. It's about balance. The Stoic doesn't say, I don't care, when someone is suffering. He asks, is this within my control? And if so, what can I do? He doesn't say whatever when life hits him hard. He adapts. He adjusts. He overcomes. He doesn't numb himself with indifference. He sharpens himself with awareness. Think of it this way. If your compass is broken, you drift. If you don't care about anything, then nothing means anything. But if you choose your values, and you care deeply about the right things, you become unshakable. You can say no to distractions because your yes has meaning. You can walk away from noise because your peace is valuable. You can stand tall in storms because you're rooted in purpose. So the next time you're tempted to say, I don't care, stop. Ask yourself, am I truly detached, or am I just afraid to feel? Because the intelligent man doesn't shut the door on life. He opens it with intention, with principle, with strength, and most of all with care. Number 6. I told you so. The 6th thing an intelligent man never says is, I told you so. Now let's pause for a second. We've all felt the urge, haven't we? Someone ignores your advice. They stumble. Things fall apart. And suddenly your inner voice perks up, ready to say, see? I warned you. But here's the truth, few phrases are more poisonous to relationships than this one. I told you so is never really about helping. It's about proving. It's not a hand, it's a hammer. It inflates your ego while deflating someone else's spirit. And the intelligent man knows, being right is worthless if it costs you someone's trust. In Stoic philosophy, there is no room for smugness. Epictetus said, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. And who is the wise man? Not the one who brags about foresight, but the one who exercises compassion after the fall. You see, the Stoic doesn't seek to stand above others. He seeks to walk beside them. Imagine a friend ignores your advice. They go down the wrong path and suffer for it. In that moment, they're not looking for a reminder of their failure. They're looking for a place to land, a safe space, an ally, a human. And what do? You can either deepen the wound or be the bandage. The phrase, I told you so, doesn't just say I was right. It says, I care more about being right than I do about you. And that, over time, destroys connection. The intelligent man thinks long-term. He doesn't trade a short hit of superiority for the slow building of loyalty, trust, and respect. In fact, if we look closely, "I told you so" is often spoken not from strength, but from insecurity. It's a way of validating your own self-worth by pointing out someone else's mistake. It's subtle dominance. And that's not Stoicism, it's ego wearing a mask. True Stoic strength is quiet. It's composed. It doesn't need to prove anything. When someone fails, the wise man leans in with empathy, not ego. He says, "That's rough. I've been there. Let's figure out how to move forward." Because his goal isn't to win the argument. It's to win the person. Stoicism teaches that virtue is the only true good, and humility is part of that virtue. The great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced betrayals, political errors, and military defeats, and yet, in his journals, he didn't gloat. He didn't mock those who erred. He reminded himself, "You always own the option of having no opinion." Sometimes silence is strength. Sometimes, instead of saying, "I told you so," the intelligent man simply listens. He offers a shoulder, a lesson, a way forward, because he understands that every mistake is a turning point, not a moment to lecture, but a moment to lead. So the next time you feel that phrase rising in your throat, "I told you so," pause. Ask yourself, am I about to build or break? Am I here to serve my ego or their growth? Because the intelligent man never uses truth as a weapon. He uses it as a light, to guide, not to blind. And when you live like that, something beautiful happens. People begin to trust you, to open up, to grow with you. And isn't that the point? Number 7. That's beneath me. The seventh thing an intelligent man never says is, "That's beneath me." Why? Because the moment a man believes a task, a job, or a person is beneath him, he reveals that his pride has grown larger than his character. Pride is loud. Wisdom is quiet. Let's take a closer look. In the world we live in today, titles are worshipped. Social media followers are treated like currency. People chase applause and status like it defines their soul. But the Stoics? They saw things differently. Seneca once said, "What fortune has made yours is not your own." In other words, the world may give you power, praise, or possessions, but it can take them back just as easily. So if your sense of worth is built on what you stand above, what happens when it all crumbles? When a man says, "That's beneath me," what he's really saying is, "I believe I'm too important to do the small things. I believe humility is optional. I believe ego is a strength." But here's the paradox. The higher you rise in true wisdom, the lower you're willing to stoop in service. Think of the great Stoics. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, ruler of an empire that stretched across continents. And yet, in his private journal, he writes more about his flaws than his victories. He questions himself. He humbles himself. He reminds himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. That's not weakness. That's depth. The intelligent man doesn't avoid low work. He embraces it. He scrubs the floor, sharpens the pencils, admits his mistakes, starts over when needed. Because he knows that humility is the highest form of strength. You don't build a lasting legacy by demanding respect. You build it by giving effort, over and over, especially when no one's watching. You don't gain wisdom by only engaging with people who deserve your time. You gain it by listening to the janitor with the same respect as the CEO. You don't grow by refusing to try things that feel below your status. You grow by doing what's necessary, even when it's uncomfortable. Now let's get real for a second. Maybe you've felt this before, when someone asks you to do something that feels too small, or too easy, or too inconvenient. That inner voice rises up. Seriously? That's not my job. That's beneath me. But stop. Breathe. And remember this. Nothing is beneath a man who understands the value of effort, service, and humility. In fact, the men who are truly admired are the ones who show up fully, no matter the task. They don't need the spotlight. They don't need to be thanked. They don't measure the importance of a job by how it looks, but by how it serves. So when you find yourself at a crossroads, your pride pulling one way, your purpose pulling the other, choose purpose. Choose growth. Choose service. Choose the quiet strength of the Stoic, because the intelligent man doesn't just shine in the big moments. He shines when no one's watching. He leads when it's inconvenient. He steps up when others step back. And most importantly, he never says, "That's beneath me," Because he knows that the true measure of a man isn't how high he stands, but how low he's willing to go to lift others up. The quiet strength of an intelligent man. So now that we've walked through these 7 things, 7 phrases an intelligent man never says, the question becomes, what does he say? And maybe more importantly, who is he becoming? Because here's the truth. An intelligent man isn't just someone who reads books or quotes philosophers. He's not the guy who wins every debate or finishes every sentence with a mic drop. An intelligent man is someone who chooses virtue over ego, progress over pride, and growth over comfort again and again and again. He doesn't say, I already know that, because he knows learning is infinite. He doesn't say, that's just how I am, because he knows personality is clay, not stone. He doesn't say, it's not my fault, because blame might feel good, but ownership builds strength. He doesn't say, that's impossible, because every limit is just an invitation to rise. He doesn't say, I don't care, because he knows that intentional care is the mark of a wise heart. He doesn't say, I told you so, because he knows that relationships matter more than being right. And he never says, that's beneath me, because he knows that humility is where greatness is born. Now maybe, as you're listening to this, you're thinking, I've said some of these before. Good. That means you're paying attention. That means you're self-aware. That means you're growing. The Stoics never claimed to be perfect. In fact, Marcus Aurelius spent most of his journal reminding himself how far he still had to go. The goal isn't to be flawless. The goal is to be better than yesterday. Better in how you speak. Better in how you listen. Better in how you respond to life, especially when it doesn't go your way. So let me ask you this. What will you choose the next time your ego flares up? The next time you want to dismiss someone, shift blame, or flex superiority? Will you follow the crowd? Or will you follow reason, virtue, and clarity? Will you speak like everyone else? Or will you speak like the man you're becoming? The world is full of loud voices, bragging, blaming, posturing, preaching. But the intelligent man, the Stoic man, walks a quieter path. He doesn't shout. He doesn't need to, because his actions echo louder than his words. He cultivates presence over performance, wisdom over noise, and strength rooted in silence. And if you remember anything from this video, let it be this. Your words shape your reality. Speak like the man you wish to become. Not tomorrow, not next year, today. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, even in the smallest way, share it with someone else who's on their journey too. And remember, the path of Stoic clarity is walked with intention, humility, and courage. Until next time, stay grounded, stay aware, and stay sharp.